Okay, Town Board, we are live.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the December 15th work session of the East Hampton Town Board. Carol, would you please read the roll call?
Councilmember Gonzalez.
Present.
Present.
Councilmember Overby.
Here.
Councilmember Rogers.
Present. Please join me in saying the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
For today's meeting, we have two public hearing notices that will have two public hearings, followed by a public portion where any member of the public may address the board on any topic. We ask that you please keep your comments to 3 minutes or less, and then the board will have resolutions to offer. Carol, if you'd please read the first. Oh, I'm sorry. You know, Hugh, I'm going to ask in the future that you please sit in the front center because you're over there in the out of sight, out of mind. You're in the partially obstructed seats.
I'm sorry. Okay.
Welcome.
This is like the old Yankee Stadium, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
In the cheap seats.
Yeah. Well, last time we all had an assignment of talking about some people who wrote about East Hampton history were not necessarily East Hampton town historians. So I guess we'll start with Councilwoman Overby.
Sure.
Okay. You had.
I had John Lyon Gardner,
Okay.
spelled two different ways, Lyon for Lyon and also Lion in some of the books that and research that I did. He was born on November 8th in 1770 in East Hampton, New York. He died November 22nd, 1816 at the age of 46. He is buried in the Gardiner's Island Cemetery. He was the seventh proprietor of Gardiner's Island, also known in its early days as the Isle of Wight. He was married March 4th, 1803 in Old Lyme, New London, Connecticut to Sarah Griswold. He was 33 years old at the time he got married, and they thought he was going to be a bachelor forever, but he did find true love, according to a great-granddaughter who wrote several years later about that marriage. They had 5 children: David Johnson Gardner, Sarah Diodati Gardner, Mary Brainerd Gardner, John Griswold Gardner, and Samuel Buell Gardner. At his death, there is a quote that I'm going to read about John Lyon Gardner. He was a man of education and refinement and celebrated for his fondness for antiquarian research. During Reverend Beecher's East Hampton ministry, no sermon was ever thought finally ready for the press till it had been submitted to the inspection of his friend, John Lyon Gardner. John Lyon Gardner wrote Observations on the Town of East Hampton. It was written in 1798. However, it wasn't published until 1902 by a Robert Ross, who said, quote, "It is a valuable little monograph which should really be the basis of all the histories of the township." I can read a couple of quotes from his observations of East Hampton. And he wrote, if I can get these all lined up together. Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm missing a page, I think, here. He described East Hampton. Well, I'll skip over some of this as he described East Hampton. But he did talk about its first settlers. And the settlement in the western part of the town was commenced in 1648 by a company of English families from Lynn, Massachusetts. The trustees named in the patent were John Mulford, Thomas Baker, Thomas Chatfield, Jeremiah Conklin, Stephen Hedges, Thomas Osborne, and John Osborne. The reason I want to read these names is they are so significant even today. it was also stated that many of the proprietors also came from the colony of Southampton. The first settlers of this town, the men of whom, and these were the men's names, were John Hand, Thomas Talmadge, Daniel Howe, Thomas Thompson, John Stratton, Robert Bond, Robert Rose, Joshua Barnes, and John Mulford. These were all originally settlers in Southampton, but decided to move and to begin and become the proprietors in the town of East Hampton. I've read through the entire observations on the town of East Hampton, and it's fascinating and worth a good read. It will not put you to sleep.
Yeah, well, and that was the first, I think, written history of our town that was done. And you know who his daughter, Sarah Diodati Gardner, was?
Well, she became the one of the proprietors.
She saved the island in
Yes.
1937 from going into forfeiture. She bought it.
So
Yeah.
that was his granddaughter.
A granddaughter,
His
sorry.
great granddaughter. And she also wrote Memories of Gardener's Island.
Yes, she did.
And that book was published around, I think it was 1947
Hmm.
when she published that book. And that's also still available. That you can read it online.
Yeah.
And again, a fascinating read. One of the things that you do, Hugh, is, at least for me, is that I want to keep reading because, and some people would say you kind of go down the rabbit hole, but when you're going down these rabbit holes, you're finding out so much more about the history of this place. And it's just fascinating information. And I thank you.
No, thank you, because it's more important that everybody knows the history than the town historian just knowing the history. That's not doing many people much good. Okay, Supervisor Van Scoyac, you had.
My assignment was to read the sermon of Lyman Beecher, the 1806 sermon that he delivered on a general history of the town of East Hampton.
Yeah, okay.
And I'll say after reading it, it's very, very general. It really focuses a lot on religion within the town, obviously. But Lyman Beecher was born in 1775 and ordained the fourth minister of the Presbyterian Church of East Hampton at age 24. And he wrote this sermon 6 years into his ministry here. So he was 30 years of age when he wrote this. He remained in East Hampton for 11 years, filling the church with fiery eloquence. And he led a great spiritual revival of 97 people joining the church at one time and 27 more shortly after Beecher became one of the foremost preachers of his time. His sermon on dueling, preached in East Hampton in 1806 after the death of Alexander Hamilton and his duel with Aaron Burr, gave Beecher national fame.
Mm-hmm.
He taught in the Clinton Academy, and his wife kept a boarding school for young ladies in their home on Main Street, now Village Hall. The most famous of his 11 children were Reverend Henry Ward Beecher and Harriet Beecher Stowe of Uncle Tom's Cabin fame. 7 of his sons became ministers, 7 of them. On New Year's Day in 1806, he delivered the sermon on the history of East Hampton, and he left East Hampton in 1810 after his request for a raise was denied by church elders. And it also mentions that it's said that he was close friends with John Lyon Gardner, who Sylvia was just talking about, and they were friends and collaborated on a number of writings regarding the history of East Hampton. There were a couple of things that really kind of jumped off the page at me. I mean, it goes through and talks about the very early creation of the town and how it was governed. Initially, the town, he extols the virtues of the original settlers here, and their religious piety was, among their most important traits. And at the same time, references let you know that it was a very, I think, closed in some ways society in terms of they were free to live their own religion, but they maybe weren't quite as tolerant of people who were outside of it.
Like him.
So, yeah, I mean, one of the brightest trait of their character And I may add, perhaps the most prominent was their eminent piety and high estimation of religion. So he's talking to the congregation, extolling the virtues of their forebears and basically kind of saying, you should be more like them.
Yes, exactly.
Then I noticed pretty early on, he talks about how they valued their ministers, though few in number, not to exceed 30 families, and though coming to a howling wilderness, there's reason to believe their minister with them and made liberal provision for his support. They gave him 50 and afterwards 60 shillings per annum, pounds per annum, exempted his property from taxation, gave him the use of parsonage land and several other privileges, which rendered his salary probably better than any that has since been given by the town.
Yeah.
Then it was interesting to see a little bit about how relations were, religion controlled every aspect. But the strict observation of the Sabbath is kind of interesting. Talks about how no Indian, they actually came out with an order that said no Indian shall travel up and down or carry any burden in or through the town on Sabbath day, and whosoever is found doing so shall be liable to corporal punishment. So if Native American came through town, they, I guess, would beat them. There are, I think that one of the other really remarkable things is that you find that in the course of 154 years, the first 154 years of the town, there were only 3 ministers within the town. And I'm just looking for where their names are here. I had it written down.
Thomas James, Nathaniel Hunting, and Samuel Buell.
Correct. Thank you.
That's why you're the historian.
you got the hat.
Exactly.
Oh, he would have
I
found
had it
it.
written down. I would have found it eventually.
would've. But 2 things come out. You and Councilwoman Overby mentioned his sermon against dueling. So he brings it over to the island to let John Lyon Gardner look at it. And on the way back, it falls out of the boat. And somehow they found it. And that sermon, as you said, made him a national figure, or at least on the Eastern Coast. And the other thing is the town of East Hampton would not pay him any more money. So he left. But just think if he had stayed, because when he left, he went to Litchfield, then he went to Cincinnati, Ohio, and Harriet went with him. And that's where she saw slavery in the state of Kentucky. And that prompted her to write the book. But just think, if the people in East Hampton had been so cheap, he would have stayed here. She may not have written the book. And the book had a profound effect on the Civil War. Okay, Councilwoman Lees?
Councilman Lees.
Henley, sorry.
Remember? I've been called worse. You gave me Henry P. Hedges, and by chance, you told me about a book that we wanted me to research that was published, I believe, in 1898. And by chance, I actually had that book in my personal collection.
Jeez.
The binding has fell off on me. This is a picture of Henry P. Hedges. I don't know if anyone could see it. I look forward to more historical books being complete shortly by certain individuals in this room. Mr. Whalen. Okay. It's actually fun to go back into some of our books that we collect on history and read. Henry P. Hedges was born in October 13th, 1817 in Waynescott, New York, the son of, I'm going to miss this, Zephaniah Hedges and Phoebe Osborne. His grandfather was the Deacon David Hedges. Hedges entered the Clinton Academy in East Hampton when he was 14, studying there for 3 years. 1835, he entered the sophomore class at Yale College, graduating in 1838. He studied there until 1840. He studied law law with David Seymour of Troy, Judge Miller of Riverhead. He was admitted to the bar in 1842. In the spring of 1843, he went to Ohio and attended to settle there, but he returned to Long Island, as good people from Long Island do. That September, and opened a law office in Sag Harbor. He maintained it until 1893. And then in 1854, he moved to Bridgehampton, opened a law office there as well. He served as president of the Sag Harbor Savings Bank from 1869 to 1899. And in 1851, Hedges was elected to the New York State Assembly as a Whig, representing Suffolk County's first district. He served the Assembly in 1852. He became one of the founders of the Republican Party and became in 1861, he became the district attorney of Suffolk County, an office that he was reelected to in 1864. And then in 1865, he was elected county judge and held that office for 4 years. He was elected to office in 1873 and held it for another 6 years. After this term, a county judge and surrogate ended in 1880, he returned to private practice. And he did a lot of financial trust and being the president of the Sag Harbor Savings Bank. Main thing while we're here is that Henry P. Hedges was an authority on the history of Eastern Long Island, where his ancestors lived in the first settlement. He published what is the history of the town of East Hampton, which is in my hand here. He united with the Presbyterian Church in 1840, and he served as an elder in Sag Harbor. In 1843, he married Glorian Osborne. Their children were Samuel O., a lawyer, Edwin, and a congressional minister, William. Hedges died at his home in 1911. He's buried in the Bridgehampton Cemetery. So going back to reference to this book of the history of East Hampton, what it was, he was actually requested to write in 1898, a 200-year compilation of all historical information from 1648 all the way up to 1849. And what he did here is, in the beginning of this, he has an address in here, the address of 1849. And I just thought the first paragraph was great. Fellow townsmen of East Hampton, we meet today as natives of the same neighborhood, having enjoyed the same blessings, entertained the same early associations, indulged in the same recollections, being bound together by the same social ties, and descended from the same common ancestry to celebrate the second centennial anniversary of the settlement of this town. The settlement of this town was not easy for the previous 200 years on there. As others have mentioned, there was infighting, not just from here, ideological differences. It's a wonderful book if you want to read about the roles of East Hampton, meaning the people in East Hampton, the roll calls, what things cost back then, and whale oil. The first tavern in East Hampton, called The Ordinary, I found in there, was quite interesting and exciting. And just a lot of good information. So anyway, he was a person that I probably would have sat down and have a beverage at The Ordinary with if it was still there. And thank you, Hugh. And thank you for allowing me to dig deep into my personal library to find the book you referenced.
Oh, that's great. Henry P. Hedges gave the address in 1849 at the 200th anniversary. Then he gave the address in 1899 at the 250th anniversary. And now we go to Councilwoman Gonzalez, who has something from Mrs. Jeanette Edwards Rattray, which is perfectly topical for what's happened in the past week. Councilwoman Gonzalez?
Great, thank you, Hugh. So Jeanette Edwards Rattray was East Hampton's most prolific local historian. A descendant of one of the earliest families to settle in the town, she would say, East Hampton is part of our very blood and bones. Mrs. Rattray wrote a weekly column for the East Hampton Star during a 50-year period, much of which dealt with local history. A handsome woman of great dignity, she was a much admired community leader. At her death in 1974, she was the owner and editor of the Star. Now, the source was one of the books, Hugh, that you had donated, Discovering the Past. And Discovering the Past brings together in one volume 17 of Jeanette's most important historical writings. You'll read about whaling, pirates, Montauk shipwrecks, Gardiner's Island, rum running, the Summer Colony, and the Maidstone Club. The 5 books that are excerpt are currently out of print, as are 12 of her historical pamphlets and articles. Now, with the publication of this book, residents of East Hampton can easily access much of her work. So I spent a couple of hours, breezing through. I think that the book is 692 pages. And one thing in particular, a lot of things jumped out at me, but what I wanted to talk about today comes from a chapter entitled Memories of Old Northwest. Northwest, Our Deserted Village, was the title of two articles in the East Hampton Star for February 27th and March 5th, 1936. The once busy port and the settlement of flourishing farms were long gone then. It was indeed a deserted village and remained so for many years after that. Today, Northwest has probably more houses than it ever had in its heyday, 1730 to 1885. It could be called a new village, but with a difference. The newcomers are not farmers. Most of them live there only part-time. They are mainly not descendants of East Hampton's early settlers, nor have they married into the old families. Probably most of them know little of the area's history. They have come out from New York because this is still unspoiled country.
Mhm.
It is necessary now to travel 100 miles to find that, and they have diverse backgrounds and interests. Going through a big envelope of deeds this week, I found one dated 1873 when a Northwest tract of 8 acres was sold for $80, $10 an acre. The other day, a friend said she had an option on a half acre at Northwest for $8,000. Of course, that includes good access by road and available electricity, but still. An airplane view of the area shows plenty of uncleared woodland remaining, but new roads are being cut through every time you look, and the woods are being honeycombed, at least on paper, with developments. Fortunately, there is zoning. Not planning to farm it, most of the newcomers are carefully preserving trees on their land. And I just thought this excerpt was apropos, considering, we've got a lot of new groups that have come by that are advocating for sustainable landscaping, and we're, trying to protect, our tree cover. And I just thought it was interesting when I read the newcomers are carefully preserving trees on their land, which is something we need to continue to do.
Thank you. I initially gave those books to the town, but the library has donated those books.
Very kind.
Sorry, I didn't think I made that clear. Well, and this is perfect. The Northwest, of course, is in the news because the Vanscoy Cemetery is now on the National Register of Historic Places. Congratulations. Thank you for doing that. There are plenty of other cemeteries I know you need to work on. So thank you for doing that. Also, the cemeteries on the National Register of Historic Places, but we have 3 that I know of National Historic landmarks in the town: the Montauk Point Lighthouse, the Pollock Krasner House, and the Moran House. And the Moran House will be open for Christmas during the Christmas season for tours. So call up the Historical Society and go there, okay? And the last thing I'm not going to do anymore. We've done enough. There'll be no assignment over the Christmas vacation. You have, but when we come back, we will, I think, get some more assignments on the Northwest, okay?
Thanks,
and then
Hugh.
I have a photographer who took pictures of East Hampton, who did not write about it, but lent a lot to our history, and that's C. Frank Dayton, and I'll be talking about him next time.
You
Thank
mentioned
you.
the Vanscoy Cemetery and the recent recognition of that cemetery, and I just want to thank David Lease, who's liaison to cemeteries in town, has really done the yeoman's task in seeing that our ancient cemeteries are preserved and restored where possible. And really, a lot of that credit goes to David.
It's,
really
it's,
done
a, it's a town
fantastic
board
job.
and it's a whole town effort. It's as we've discussed with in the clerk's office, sometimes it's the last information about that person in the town of East Hampton. We have to preserve our past. This was a little bit of an easy lift.
Well, you have also people who can clean those stones. That's some company you've got there.
Yeah.
So maybe you could take a big ad on the back page of the Star and put Councilman Lee's name in it and say congratulations on the cemetery.
I think we should put his picture in it.
That's a great idea.
Thanks, you.
Thank you so much, Hugh. That brings us up to our public hearings. And Carol, would you please read the first public hearing notice? This is a hearing that we held open, was adjourned from 11/17. But if you would just please reread the notice.
Please take notice that pursuant to Section 247 of the General Municipal Law of the State of New York and the provisions of the East Hampton Town Code, the Town Board of the Town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing in the Town Hall Meeting Room, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, on November 17th at 11 a.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard concerning the filing grant of a declaration of scenic and conservation covenants and restrictions to the Town of East Hampton. It's the Geox Family LLC and Jed Weisberg, to Scenic Conservation and Covenants and Restrictions, dated October 6th at 335 Further Lane, East Hampton, Suffolk County Tax Map 300-189 420.2, and the reviewing agency is the Town Board.
Thank you, Carol. Is there, let's see, we do have a sign up list. I think David Buddha, I believe you signed up for this public hearing. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
Thank you. Thank you.
Good morning. I am David Buddha from the Springs. Today is the continuation of the public hearing that was commenced on November 17th, in which the town board is considering accepting from the owners of property located at 335 Further Lane a new declaration of scenic and conservation covenants and restrictions in place of and instead of the grant of a 100-foot wide street frontage scenic easement that had been a requirement of the planning board when Paul Simon, yes, that Paul Simon, obtained a 3-lot subdivision of his property located between Further Lane and Hampton Road. Because it was a minor subdivision, what is also sometimes referred to as a subdivision waiver or sub-waiver, no filing of the subdivision map was required. Although I do note that the more recent practice of the planning board seems to be to require filing of minor subdivision maps, which is, I think, a very good thing to avoid possible problems such as the one that has occurred here. Instead of a filed map, which triggers the assignment of new tax map lot numbers, the subdivision was created by recording of deeds years later, which were supposed to be preceded by the recording of instruments granting to the town 100-foot deep scenic easements along both roadways, and also a large lot easement affecting each of the 3 subdivision lots. For your convenient reference, I have given already to each of you a copy of the actual Paul Simon minor subdivision map, last revised July 16, 1985, which bears the approval stamp of the planning board chair dated November 16, 1986. You'll see the subject scenic easement and also the one on Hampton Road, which is not involved in this matter directly, but could be affected in the future because probably a similar situation might arise. What should be noticed about the stamp of the approval of the planning board chair is that no building permits could issue until there's a confirmation from the planning board that all of the conditions of the subdivision have been obtained, and that's why that stamp is there on this map. As of November 3rd this year, when you adopted a resolution to schedule the public hearing on November 17th, there had never been any public discussion of the circumstances of this matter, although perhaps it had been discussed with the town attorney in executive session. Boy, sometimes I miss the practices of a prior town board that would review upcoming agendas during a preceding work session to ensure that any resolution out of the ordinary would be reviewed and discussed if necessary for clarification, and that discussion would be in public. Here, I simply could not understand why this town board would sanction the reduction of a 100-foot scenic easement by about a third, and thereby legalize existing violations of the original subdivision approval. Moreover, it's only the planning board that can grant a modification of a condition of a subdivision. Mr. Jelnicki has informed me that, quote, it was discovered that the easement was never recorded, and that, quote, the current owner denied knowledge of the easement and that there is nothing about the easement in the chain of title. Denying the existence of the easement is a neat trick because the surveys certified to the current owners show it. So how they can deny knowing that is really beyond comprehension. The proffered declaration states, quote, no such scenic easement was filed with the town of East Hampton or recorded with the Suffolk County Clerk's Office. On November 17th, I detailed the fallacy of the portion of that statement that the scenic easement was not filed with the town. Today, I would simply like to close by proving the fallacy of the statement that the scenic easement was not timely filed with the Suffolk County Clerk's Office. Here, for each of you, is a copy of the original scenic easement recorded January 12th, 1987, which was prior to the first deed recording that created new lot 335 Further Lane on November 22nd, 1988.
Thank you.
Yes, as Perry Mason would say, I rest my case. Any questions?
So what you handed us was filed in Suffolk County.
Absolutely. I obtained a copy on Monday
Okay.
by going to the deed room.
Okay.
Any competent title searcher could have found it if they were looking for it.
Okay.
The only issue that may have arisen why some lesser title searchers may not have found it was that at the time it was filed, the entirety of the Paul Simon tract was undivided. So it had not been given new tax map numbers. And that only occurs when the first deed is filed. And that might be that's one reason why subdivision maps, even minor subdivisions, should be filed. But that may have been part of the reason why they missed it. But if I had a nickel for every time a title company's searcher made a mistake, I'd be a very wealthy man.
Thank you, David. Anyone else wish to address the board on this matter? Entertain a motion to close.
Motion to
We have,
close.
we have callers.
Oh, we do?
Oh,
Okay, I'm
okay.
sorry.
Thanks.
No worries. No worries. Give me a second. Let me
See if any of them wish to speak on this topic.
I shall right now. Okay. Hello, caller ending 6511. You're on the air. One second. Caller, give me just make absolutely sure that my talkback is pushing to them. Just double checking this. Caller ending 6511. You're on the air. Check. All right. I was listening on my other line, and so I'm going to go on to the next caller. That one is unresponsive. Hello, caller ending 7518. You're on the air.
Hi, I'm just calling in for a later subject.
Oh, okay. Which one?
General
hiring
public
Mark
comment?
Devonshire for the,
General public? All right, cool. All right.
Yes.
It's been marked. Okay, that's it.
Entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Carol, if you read the last public hearing notice for today.
Take notice that the town board of the town of East Hampton will hold a public hearing pursuant to section 232 urban renewal of the town code of the town of East Hampton, section 232-1-70, modification of urban renewal plans in the meeting room, Town Hall, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton, on December 15th at 11 a.m. or as soon thereafter as this matter may be heard, to consider the following modification of urban renewal map AM1. urban renewal parcel 25 and AM1, 300-106-14 for the tax map. It's map 316, section A, Hollymere. The requested modification is from URP 25, consisting of old file map lots 61 through 67 and map 316, section A, Hollymere, to URP 25, consisting of old file map lots 61 to 63 and map 316, section A, Hollymere, property of the town of East Hampton, and URP 25A, consisting of old file map lots 64 through 67 in map 316, section A, Hollymere, the applicant. A copy of the map depicting the proposed changes is available in the office of the town clerk during regular business hours of 9 to 4, Monday through Friday, exclusive of holidays. A copy of the proposed changes will also be available on the town's website. The public hearing will be held live and in person by the town board and will be available electronically by video and teleconferencing and will be televised on local TV, LTV Channel 22. And available for live stream on the LTV website. The public shall be permitted to appear in person, but may also provide comments on the matter being heard by calling 351-888-6331. Any person or party wishing to be heard with respect to the foregoing may do so in person, by agent, by attorney, or by call-in to the live stream, or by written comment addressed to the East Hampton Town Clerk, 159 Panago Road, East Hampton. Comments may also be submitted to the town clerk via email to cbrennan@ehamptonny.gov. All comments must be received by the town clerk by the date and time of the public hearing. Please check the meeting agenda posted on the town's website for any changes and for updated information.
Thank you, Carol. Is there anyone present who wishes to address the board on this matter? Rick?
Good morning, Peter, members of the board. Richard Whalen, attorney, Whalen Fowler PLLC, and I'm here on behalf of Nicholas and Diana Greco, who are the owners of urban renewal parcel 25, or well, part of it in UR map AM1. Just before I start, I have to comment on the what you were discussing with Hugh King. So if Lyman Beecher had been paid more money by the church trustees, he might never have left East Hampton, and Harriet Beecher Stowe might never have been exposed to slavery and would never have written Uncle Tom's Cabin.
She may never have been born because she was actually born in Litchfield,
I think she was
Connecticut.
conceived in East Hampton.
Oh, really?
She was born a few.
You have some
she was born a few months
precise
after.
inside information.
Yeah, no. I think she was born a few months into his move to Litchfield, Connecticut. He reportedly said afterwards that if he intended to be a missionary, he would have been a missionary to the poor, not to the rich. Ooh. So he thought they were penurious around here. So anyway, on to business. So I represent, as I said, Diana and Nick Greco, who own 4 of the 7 lots that comprise urban renewal parcel 25 on Bayview Avenue, the map of Hollymere, which is urban renewal map AM1. In 2005, the town board bought the other 3 old file map lots in that urban renewal parcel. I think that was one of the structural technology acquisitions, and this is cropped up elsewhere because they owned some other partial urban renewal parcels around town. This is pretty straightforward. In order for the Grecos to even apply for a building permit to build on this lot, they would need a natural resources special permit and wetland variances in order to do that. We understand that. But for them to be able to utilize their lot, it cannot be attached to a town parcel that the town bought with open space monies, because you can't sell your land to the Grecos, and therefore they can't comply with the urban renewal map. So this is pretty straightforward. Obviously, I realize the planning board recommended not changing the map. The planning board seemed to view this as a planning matter, natural resources matter, not really a legal matter. But the fact of the matter is it's a legal matter. You know, you can't tie the Greco property to land that you own that you can't convey to them, and therefore make it impossible for them to comply with the urban renewal plan. So very straightforward. We're asking that you make the modification that Carol referenced in the hearing notice, created 25A, UR parcel 25A, which the Grecos will own, and the town owns the remainder. just one final comment on that. That doesn't change the density of the map. The town still owns its part of the property. It's part of the urban renewal parcel is the wetter portion. Most of what the Greco's owned, although it's adjacent to wetlands, is actually upland woods. So the wetlands have already basically been preserved by the town, and changing the urban renewal map does not affect density. And moreover, it's required because otherwise you basically have a taking of the Greco's property. So that's what I have to say.
Thank you, Rick.
Thank you.
Yes, Mr. Buda, and then Mr. Karpinski.
I'll try David Buda again from the Springs. I'll try to be very brief. I don't have any rabbits to pull out of a hat on this one, but I do want to remind you that this is essentially the third time you've been faced with this similar issue of the town having previously used open space, small lot bond funds to purchase part of an old filed map parcel. And in the other two matters, you've determined that the proposed modification of the old filed map was inappropriate and that the town would begin the process of purchasing the other half or portion of the lots so as to complete and bring to fruition the process that started actually when Mr. Whalen was still with the town back in the early 2000 decade of acquiring small lots so as to reduce density. I also want to reiterate what I've said before on the other matters. This whole process really is inappropriate because what it would be doing, even if this were to be granted, you would be creating two separate lots. That's out of one restricted lot. And that would be a subdivision. You would, even if the town's portion could not be developed, the process of modifying the urban renewal map so as to divide a urban renewal parcel into two, in my opinion, requires that the applicant go through the subdivision process, which would entail also, of course, additional review in terms of the suitability for septic and waste. But it would be creating an undersized lot in a process that did not go through the subdivision process. So both the urban renewal map process is inappropriate under these circumstances. Of course, the owner should get his full fair value for this lot. I don't know the circumstances of this area. It's not my neighborhood, but I don't know how they acquired it or when or why, but it has some value and it should be acquired by the town, either voluntarily or through the condemnation process, which is not a bad thing. It's just a necessary thing. And it's something that should have been envisioned back in 2003. I'm not sure when this particular transaction occurred, but in the period from 2003, 2005 is when all of these structural technology partial lots, and they also owned one complete urban renewal map parcel. That's when those transactions occurred. And you now need to complete the process that was started then in good faith for the sake of reducing density. Now, this happens to be, according to the planning board, extremely highly environmentally sensitive area. I don't know the area, but I'm sure it is because of its location. The planning board, the consulting engineer, all gave you their report saying, don't do it. And I would concur with that sentiment. Thank you.
Thank you, David.
No rabbits.
Joe. Morning, Joe.
Good morning, Town Board. Joe Karpinski. I live on Bayview Avenue. Under Town Code, I will like to say that Joseph Karpinski, homeowner, along with representing my father, John Karpinski, homeowner, representing our neighbor, homeowner Paulie Zavoli, which is 3 homeowners. Under Town Code, we say no to any modifications, any abandonments, any more construction on this road, though we certainly don't oppose the removal of any structures, especially like the one right in the middle of the road that Mr. Whalen and Mr. Greco certainly gave to us. In good conscience, I still don't know how you can have this meeting. Rick Whalen just said that, no, there's no wetlands there. The DEC maps certainly say there are, and Kevin Jennings is still looking into all these issues after Vinnie Gordiello allowed the people to plow into Mr. Greco's lot, and I've asked for revegetation of that area. That being said, Mr. Whalen still sits on as your chairman of your Nature Preserve Committee, while he blocks the Nature Preserve at the end of the road, has destroyed our beach, blocks our road, blocks our rights, beach access to 33A, as denoted in town notes previously. You can go through town documents in 1983 into 1984 saying nobody should be building in this area. This is a public road, not a private road. You can look at town documents, 91, 92, 98, 2004, 2007, 2008. So we have a bigger question. So since it is a nature preserve, this has grown at the end of our road because that's for all people in the town to use. So now it's no longer just the issue of the people who live here. It is now the entirety of the town that this is being brought to us. To the best of my knowledge, the town's never collected any fines for the blockage at the end of the road. Once again, Mr. Whalen works for you. First Coastal, we know, works for you. We know that Tarbert and Lester, Mr. Lester works for you. And Aram Tatunian, the owner of First Coastal, works for you. We want these bags removed immediately. That's what needs to happen. This is a right of way to everyone. This is beach access to everyone. This is our road. The lots in question, we're talking about an 80-foot lot that was plowed 35 feet into. 80 feet. My maps show me that 40 foot of that is still wetlands. I don't know why he says it's not. And once again, under town code, you need to be 100 feet back to even have a septic. You can't build in it. I don't think you should have to pay them any money for it, considering they, to the best of my knowledge, have never paid you guys a fine at all. And going into next year, at the end of 5 years of their DEC permit, which they have a modification against, but once again, we don't want the modification. We've already said that. And we'll also tell you, you're more than welcome to go look at any and all court litigation and court rendered decisions on the matter. This is a no. This is a hard no. I'm sorry. This doesn't happen. This is adjacent from the property that you guys just bought at 96. I had wrote you previously before this meeting I even knew was coming up, and I told you no. The planning board speculated that, oh, the town should buy back this lot. But I'll remind you, at that meeting with the planning board, Mr. Whalen decided to say his client has a constitutional right to build. And what constitutional right did they have to steal ours? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Joe. Anyone else wish to address the board who's not yet spoken? Rick, I'll go back to you for a rebuttal.
Or anyone online?
Since you're,
And anyone online,
I'll go
yeah.
back to.
Richard Whalen, again, attorney for Nicholas and Diana Greco. I just want to respond to something that David Buddha said. I like David very much. He's a very bright guy. But when he says that a change in a division in an urban renewal map lot is a subdivision, he is absolutely wrong. A subdivision is a division of attractive land owned by a single owner. If the Grecos want to divide the 4 lots that they owned into something more than one parcel, that's a subdivision. Their ownership and the town's ownership of the former Structural Technologies property, which the town acquired in 2005, those properties have been in separate ownership for decades. And of course, going back to the original subdivision map, the subdivision map was filed, I think, in 1911 and created 20-foot, wide strips. So if the urban renewal parcel comprises properties owned by different owners, and you divide the urban renewal parcel so that those different owners go their own separate way, that's not a subdivision. That's a modification of the urban renewal map. It's not a subdivision. David has said this before, and with all due respect, he's wrong. Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Do we have any callers on the line for this public hearing?
I don't know if they're for this public hearing. Is the one person who was unresponsive before? I'm just going to unmute them and see if this is what they're going for. So, all right. Caller ending 6511. You're on the air.
Yes, I'm calling in support of Brooks Parks.
Okay, so I guess that would be for
General public comment.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's when we should hear that.
Okay, fair enough. Wait, and we have one person hopping on right now. Let me just let it populate. Okay.
Yeah, that's when we should hear that.
15. You are on the air. Are you wishing to talk about this topic?
This is.
Hello, I hear you. You're on the air.
This is John Karpinski. I am in Mississippi. I wish to respond to Mr. Whalen. This is John Karpinski.
Can you turn off your TV in the background or your streaming device in the background?
I left the room. We are quarantining in Mississippi. We both have COVID. I have
Sorry to hear that.
following this in my. I've been following this. My son has been handling everything very nicely, Joseph Karpinski. But there are several things I wish to respond to. I, for 30 years, was able to walk through the block. I have not been back for 5 years because I need a walker to walk with. We just stay down here. And Mr. Whalen used to be the trustee's attorney when he got all the stuff approved for them to do this stuff. Please look into that situation. Thank you.
Thank you for calling, Mr. Karpinski, and we hope you're better soon. Do we have
Thank
any
you.
other callers on the line?
We have no other callers on the line pertaining to this public hearing.
Thank you. David, you want to make another brief comment?
Yes, I may not have standing to convince you of the legitimacy of my statement. Let me refer you to your former town planning board attorney, John Julnicki, current town attorney. He well established in a prior similar matter that if an urban renewal parcel, possibly owned by more than one person, is to be divided to create an additional lot, whether or not it can or should or will be developed, it is an increase in the density and does require a subdivision. And that was their policy, still is their policy, should be their policy. Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the board? I'll entertain a motion to close.
Motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, passed and carried. That concludes our public hearings for today. We now have resolutions.
We have public.
Public comment.
Portion, I'm sorry,
Yep.
I jumped to the gun. I do know we have a caller on the line for public portion.
Absolutely. I'll unmute right now. 7518, you are on the air and it's ready for public comment.
Hi, yeah, this is Scott Bludorn calling from East Hampton side of Sag Harbor. I'm just calling in reference to a resolution, to take a vote on finally getting the Brooks Park site mothballed as soon as possible. I know that the structure has suffered some damage probably in the last week or so with a portion of the south wall of the addition to this main studio collapsing, unfortunately. So time is of the essence. We need to get it tarped if this is going to move ahead, and I really hope the town board can vote as soon as possible on a resolution here to do that. And secondly, to hire and retain the services of preservationist Mike Devonshire, who our group, I'm speaking as a member of the Brooks Park Arts and Nature Committee, for many months now has been trying to put forth the resolution that we should hire Mike Devonshire as an eminently knowledgeable preservationist, especially historic preservation and construction, to offer his services in the restoration of the site moving forward. So both of these issues are linked, and I hope that we can have a resolution on both of them as soon as possible, with looking forward to the future of the Brooks Park Arts and Nature site. And the structures are very precarious at the moment, so we know that time is of the essence. So I really hope the town board can move forward on this as soon as possible. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Scott.
Okay.
Do we have any other callers on the line?
Yes, we do. And I want to unmute the next caller. Okay. 6511, you are on the air.
Thank you. I am Sam Gann, a decades-long Springs resident, and I'm calling supporting the preservation of the Brooks Park Studio and residences. I'm at once proud of our town board for designating this site as a local historic landmark, but at the same time, I'm dismayed that, as I read in Newsday, that this site is on the nation's 11 most endangered site list. The story is about to go national, and I urge the current board to right this wrong and take action to preserve this important cultural site for the benefit of our community. Thank you for your time and taking up this important matter today.
Well, thank you for calling in, Sam. We appreciate your comments.
Okay, going on to next caller. Let me just make sure I got everyone in the right order. All right, caller 1337. You're on the air.
Hi, my name is, Erwin Levy. Good morning, supervisor and town board members. I'm a 33-year resident of East Hampton Springs. I'm also a member of the Brooks Park Arts and Nature Committee. I'm also president of the East Hampton Trails Preservation Society, which trails go right through the Brooks Park property. I just want to also lend my full support and advocate and respectfully request that the town board move forward and retain Mike Devonshire to do what he does best in terms of historic preservation, as the prior caller already mentioned. This is a site that's been recognized nationally, statewide, and locally. It's really the essence of what Springs is as the literal birthplace of the ABEX movement, an artistic movement that was born in this country in Springs. It's a property that dialogues perfectly with Lieber Museum, with Paula Krasner House, and with Duck Creek Farm. So I would just like to see Mike Devonshire hired, and the time is now. It's been out there for a while. This committee has been working on it. The heavy lift was done. The property is owned. It's now, let's make this what it can be for all future generations. They'll thank this town board for doing so. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Thank you, Erwin.
Okay, we got one more caller right now. 6264, you are on the air. And they hung up. Okay, so that is it so far. Everyone who is currently on the phone has already spoken, and yeah.
Thanks, Jason. Anyone here in the room like to address the board on other topics?
Good morning again, town board. I just wanted to go over a couple quick things that I just left out.
If you just please state your name again.
Oh, okay.
Thanks.
Joe Karpinski again, sorry. Just wanted to say that in regards to urban renewal as well, with you guys owning 5 lots on our road, around town, you should really take a hard look on where you guys actually own property, because those roads can never be fully developed, because you guys won't be building on those properties most likely, and therefore we can't actually conform someday. And like I said, I had all those other corresponding documents that already say, you know, we're public, not private. A couple of the other issues that have risen have been whether it's been the rental registry or the rumor that Anne Glennon is retiring. And if she is, I would say on our road specifically, we have a continued malfeasance with her to perform her duties. And with blocking the road, you guys didn't sign off on that. She did. That wasn't her jurisdiction. We have people who build on the road without being licensed in the town, build pools without being licensed, or even permitted to build a pool, then allowed to keep it. Now, the bigger part with the rental one, which I believe almost every email I've had you and Councilwoman Overby with that, whether it be in the summer with you, John, Jill, Nikki, and Ann Glennon. The person who was renting through Airbnb, they don't have a rental registry number until magically now November 16th they do. But I could still go online right now, go to the website of the realtor, and there's still no number for them. And I could, guess what? I could rent out for January. So it finds it to be very interesting. The problem with the Airbnb is watching Motel 6 happen constantly. And we have other people on the road who are on the rental registry, and of course their numbers put everywhere. During this time, I had written something in the summer about them running rampant. Now I knew that code enforcement was already aware of it. The problem was that Kevin Cooper went out of his way to track me down on my secondary email, not my primary, which means he had to Google me to find me in the first place. After a little back and forth, and of course I asked him to take care of our road at the end, since that's the longest infraction before we talk about any other problems. He had told me to cease speaking about the East Hampton town government and any matters related to his department. I don't really find that becoming of somebody who's the head of a department. And I also think with all the issues here that you could potentially hold on to Anne Glennon's pension if she's to receive one at all until all these things are taken care of, or use those funds to actually take care of something like the end of our road, since it's her occurrence. The other part of those geocubes, which I didn't talk about, go around the other side, oddly enough, on Stella McCartney's property. You know, a wonderful man-made climate change activist who puts up a structure that accelerates erosion 50 years quicker. The problem with her side is that's so close to Nat Peak State Park. I'll still allege, like I have previously years ago, that is in Nat Peak State Park. Any commercial structure in Nat Peak State Park loses us the entirety of the park. So I wish that someone would look closer into that and see how close those cubes actually are. And I would once again ask you, yield your power, because I've given you everything. It's all on your side. You can have those cubes open today, and we demand it. And we really want it to happen at this point. And like I said, you're more than welcome to go look at the court litigation, court's rendered decision. And I'm sure it will still be something that will be going on for a long time. But there are so many things you can do to just make it happen and make things better. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, Joe. We will now move on to resolutions. Councilmember Burke Gonzalez, I believe you had the first resolution.
I do, starting with Resolution 2022-1449. It's approval of the warrant. Claims total $14,501,376.93. And the utility warrant totals $59,483.95.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's carried.
1450 is to appoint receiver of taxes Christine Schnell to a 4-year term at the annual salary of $85,000 for a 30-hour work week effective January 1st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. That's carried.
2022-1451 is a change of hours for Holly Miller, assistant cook. Holly will be going from 35 hours per week to 30 hours per week effective January 1st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
Resolution 1452 is a change of hours for Corinne Wasilius, Assistant Senior Citizen Center Manager. Corinne will be going from 40 hours per week to 30 hours per week effective January 1st.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
I'd like to offer resolution 2022-1453. This is the appoint seasonal snow removal driver in the highway department, calendar year 22 and 23 season. This gentleman name is Scott Vicarelli at an hourly rate of $35 per hour, retroactive to December 12th, 2022.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
1454 is a payout upon resignation of Severo Christofich. He was a buildings maintenance supervisor in the Parks Department. This was effective of November 2nd, 2022. After auditing, the Finance Committee will contact Mr. Christofich to request a payment in the amount of $82.08 for reimbursement to the town.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
1455. Payout upon resignation of Tyler Pond as an automotive equipment operator. The Finance Department's authorized to issue a check of the payroll appropriate account for 8.8 vacation hours at $23.99 per hour plus $2,304.48 opt-out incentive pay for a gross payment of $2,336.90 to be paid to Tyler Pond as a final payout.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
1456 is a budget modification for the Recreation Department, bringing $55 from part-time salaries to $55 for telephone.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Passed and carried.
1454 is a budget modification for buildings and grounds, bring $2,500 from full-time salaries to $2,500 for water.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
1458 is a budget modification for buildings and grounds, bring $10,000 from New York State Retirement to the same amount in subcontractor cost.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried.
1459 is a notice of bidders for EH 22-05042. This is for the Maidstone Park IA sanitary improvements. The bid is available December 15th, 2022. The bid is due back January 12th, 2022. you have any questions, please contact the town's purchasing department at 631-324-4143 between the hours of 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday to Friday.
It's 2023. It's
I apologize.
printed. Yes, okay.
I apologize. I was about to choke on something. 2023, January 12th, 2023.
All right, second, don't
Yeah.
joke.
Thanks.
I second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, pass and
Thank
carried.
you, Sylvia.
That's okay.
Like to offer resolution 1460. This is a notice of bidders for EH 22-043. This is the Montauk Gateway Underground Utility Improvements. The bid is available December 15th, 2022. The bid is due back January 12th, 2023. Any questions, please contact our purchasing department again at 631-324-4183.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, pass and carried.
1461 is accept the bid EH 22-039. This is for the Linesfield IA sanitary system to Keith Grimes Incorporated. And they're the recommended lowest bidder, and the cost is not to exceed, the cost is hereby accepted at a total cost of $141,252.50.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, pass and carried.
1462 is accept bid EH 22-041, purchase and delivery of ATVs for Maximum Motorsports. They're in purchase delivery of 2 ATVs for the town of East Hampton. At a total cost of $21,269 each, for a total budget impact of $42,538.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, pass and carried.
1463 is a set proposal for RFP EH 2022-106 is the audit service for the Community Preservation Fund. This goes to Cullen and Dankowski LLP. The rates per the agreement is for partner for $225 an hour, director of quality control $185 an hour, audit manager $185, staff is $130, and the financial impact for the 2022 tax year fee is $11,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pass and carried.
Resolution 1464 is to regrade driver messenger and to amend the CSEA Schedule A. This is hereby amended to reflect the regrading of the driver messenger title to grade 12 for employee salaries and hours listed below, paid bi-weekly from a certain budget upon proper submission of time records. This is for Hazel Pasmino, going to grade 12 for $22.84 an hour, or $41,569.89 annually for a 35-hour work week.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pass and carried.
Resolution 1465 is to authorize payment past due invoices for advanced imaging systems. These are for copies, account expenses incurred by the planning department that the building and grounds department is responsible for paying. Now therefore it be resolved that the outstanding past invoices totaling $15.72 for 2020 and $345.69 for 2022 for a total financial impact of $361.41. And this approves the payment of those invoices.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carried.
2022-1466 is to extend contract EH 21-044 transportation and disposal of non-recyclable solid waste, used tires, construction and demolition debris to Winter Brothers Hauling of Long Island LLC. Winter Brothers Hauling of Long Island LLC was the lowest bidder received. And the town board has accepted this and entered into an agreement that is renewable upon agreement of the parties for 2 additional 1-year terms. And it's recommended that the extension of the agreement with Winter Brothers Hauling LLC now be resolved for February 1, 2023 through January 31st, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carried.
Resolution 2022-1467, authorized payment invoices and budget modification in the planning department. And this is to pay for services in addition to funds that have already been encumbered for these projects. And these projects were from Dotson and Flinker relating to Springs Fireplace Corridor and the Wainscott Hamlet study. So we're moving to outside professionals from one account line, 25,000, to a similar, another account line, also to the outside professional, in the amount of $25,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carry.
Resolution 1468 is the budget mod for sanitation, and we're moving $4,000 from outside professional to light and power in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carry.
Resolution 1469 is to retain Michael Devonshire as a historic consultant for Brooks Park. This is what we had a lot of comment on earlier, and I'm happy to put forward this resolution. The property contains structures that the town has deemed historic and wishes to do an assessment of the structures. Michael Devonshire of Jan Hurd Pokorny, Associates, Inc., has submitted a proposal for professional services to perform a conditions assessment for all structures, as well as prepare a report summarizing observations and recommendations for repair and renovation. That was proposal sent on that was dated December 22nd, 2021, and the total cost would not exceed $21,000.
Second.
I just had a quick discussion. While I still have concerns about the project in general, the best way to address those concerns is what's in the scope with Mr. Devonshire. So I look forward to seeing Mr. Devonshire's report based on this scope, because the best way for me to address things is to learn about things. So that's why I will, I look forward to putting his report together with Drew Bennett's, move from there in a timely fashion. So thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carry.
Resolution 1470 is to release security for urban renewal policy for 14A and EH3. And this is, the applicant is Bruce Van Gerp, is at 23 Crystal Drive. The amount of check is to Chase Bank for $22,000.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carry.
I'm also doing Council Member Rogers' resolution. So 1471 is to authorize an agreement for 2023 to Tyler Technologies, Inc. Tyler's Technologies, Inc. is for our Munis software. This is for licensing and support for the fiscal year 2023, commencing January 1st, 2023. And the amount is $24,830.
Second.
That's for the B fund. The total is $124,149, but then it's
Thank
divided
you, Kat.
between
Thank
the
you,
A fund and
Kathy.
B fund.
Yep, sorry. Yes,
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Pass and carry.
and all that information's in the resolution, but thank you, Kathy, for picking it up. Resolution 1472 is to extend a license agreement for Elknor Hawkeye LLC at the East Hampton Airport. This is a contractor for South Fork Wind to utilize a portion of the town airport for the storage of equipment and materials on a temporary basis at the East Hampton Airport. The license term ends 12/31/2022, and upon consent of the town they'd like to extend for an additional 6-month period. And the licensee has requested the additional period, and the airport manager has recommended the extension to be approved. And the town board has prepared an environmental assessment with regard to the license and adopted a negative declaration with regard to the same. And the license agreement is hereby extended to and including June 30th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Pass and carry.
Resolution 1473 is to Harris Govern Agreement for 2023. The town has an ongoing contract with Harris Govern in connection with the town's land management software, which requires annual licensing renewal for support and maintenance. The town desires to renew the agreement for 2023 calendar year. And now therefore it be resolved that the total of all the permits, revenue and management, appraisal, escrow, et cetera, as a total cost for the calendar year of 2023 is $126,883.40.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. Resolution 2022-1474 is a notice of public hearing for East Hampton Water Supply and Fire Protection District Agreement for 2023. This is for the furnishing of firefighting vehicles, equipment, firefighting personnel, emergency ambulance service, including vehicles and equipment and ambulance personnel to the district. Such services during the 12-month period of 2023 and 2024. Town of East Hampton shall pay the sum of $1,184,489 for each calendar year. And there will be a public hearing on Thursday, January 19th, 2023 at 11 a.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 1475 is a notice of public hearing and a schedule a public hearing for the Northwest Fire Protection Agreement for 2023 and 2024. And again, this is for fire department to supply firefighting vehicles, equipment, firefighting personnel, ambulance service vehicles and personnel. And that is in the sum of $2,295,789 for each calendar year. And there'll be a public hearing on January 19th, 2023 at 11 a.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 1476 is appoint volunteer student intern Joseph Nesbitt to the East Hampton Town Police Department. And that is effective December 18th, 2022 through June 30th, 2023.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 1477 is a regrade town maintenance crew leader to amend the CSEA Schedule A. And that is to reflect the regrading of the crew leader title to grade 33. And that's effective January 1st, 2023. Grade 33, step 4, at an hourly rate of $39.28 for a 40-hour work week.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 1478 is payout upon retirement, Catherine Roxbury, and that is $601.13 in vacation time, $54,302.47 in sick time, personal time in the amount of $400.75, plus $6,211.72 in holiday pay, and $5,947.19 in shift differential, less $82.81 for appropriated clothing allowance, prorated clothing allowance for a gross total of $67,380.46.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed and carried. 1479 is consolidate Marine Patrol titles and amend the CSEA Schedule A. Resolve the Harbor Master Bay Constable be reclassified as Harbor Master 1 or Harbor Master 2, depending on the level of experience and responsibility specific to the position. Senior Harbor Master be reclassified as Harbor Master 3 with no change in budget account, pay rate, schedule hours worked, effective retroactive September 5th, 2022.
Second.
And resolve that Harbor Master 1 will replace Harbor Master on grade 28. Harbor Master 2 will be placed on grade 31.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed carried. 1480 is to authorize Village True Value, payment to Village True Value, and that is in the amount of $51.99.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passed carried. 1481 is to authorize renewal agreement with TriTech Central Square 2023. TriTech Software Systems has provided software and support service for the East Hampton Town Police Department. And that a renewal of the agreement with TriTech, AKA Central Square, for software and support services for a term of 11/15/22 through 7/31/22 is hereby approved. And it should be 23, not 22. At a cost not to exceed $44,734.98. I'll
Second as
second's
amended, yeah,
Thank
to
you.
7/31/23.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed carried. 1482, authorized maintenance agreement, East Hampton Town Police Department 2023. Whereas East Hampton Town Police Department requires annual maintenance of its computer servers, and a proposal from Total Technology Solutions Source Pass for maintenance and police department computer servers at an annual cost of the town of $23,500 for a term commencing January 1st, 2023 through 12/31/2023 is hereby accepted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 1483 is uniform reimbursement for Samantha Dushman and Daniel Munoz. And that's to reimburse out-of-pocket expenses for uniforms needed to attend the police academy September 12th, 2022. And the totals on that is $340.90 from one budget line and $677.30 from another.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 1484 is uniform reimbursement for Brzezinski. And that's James Brzezinski, appointed part-time police officer to attend the Suffolk County Police Department. The uniform expenses will be paid in an amount not to exceed $600.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 1485. Budget modification for the police department, and that is moving $44,200 from police and fire retirement to fuel motor vehicles in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 1486 is a budget modification for tower construction payment. And this is for the town's installation of emergency communications equipment on a communications tower at Camp Blue Bay. And whereas the agreement provides the fee for the town's space on the tower at $0 per month. However, the town agrees to a capital contribution of $150,000 for the construction of the tower. And therefore, we are doing a budget mod to move $150,000 from appropriated unreserved surplus to other equipment in the same amount.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Looking forward to that coming online. 1487 is to authorize, and I think authorize is misspelled, remote monitoring and maintenance agreement for East Hampton Town Police Department in 2023. Resolved that Total Tech Solutions Source Pass for remote monitoring and maintenance for the essential support plan for the East Hampton Police Department computer servers at an annual cost to the town of $44,000 hereby accepted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 1488 is to execute agreement for animal control, the town of East Hampton and the village of East Hampton for 2022 through 2024 at an annual sum of $5,000. And that is again through 2022 through December 31st, 2024.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 1489 is Lexipol agreement for 2023. And that's risk management tools for public safety. Resolve that I think it should say the 2023 annual agreement, not 2022. For Lexipol for risk management tools for public safety, local government organizations for police department at an annual cost of $17,951.76 hereby accepted.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 1490 is to amend Resolution 2022-991, retain Clark and Marshall appraisal of 91 and 93 Industrial Road in Waynescott. And the fee for appraisal services is $3,250.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. 1491 is to authorize utility easement and covenants and restrictions for Bistrian properties.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Resolution 1492 is a secret actions to declare the town lead agency and adopt secret positive declaration to prepare draft generic environmental impact statement for consideration of future operations at East Hampton Town Airport. And they would include time-based permissions such as curfews, aircraft-based permissions such as reduced or eliminated jets, helicopters, or seaplanes, noise-based permissions such as reduction or elimination of aircraft that have noise signature that exceeds designed defined threshold, operating-based permissions such as reduction of elimination of commercial operations, environmental-based reduction based on environmental-based reduction such as the eventual reduction of elimination of lead-based fuel sales or permanent closure of East Hampton Town Airport when legally possible will also be studied as alternative.
Second.
I just want to, yeah. And that's where I was going to read next.
Okay.
I just had to flip the page. Yeah, further resolved that Town Board of East Hampton issues draft scoping outline, Appendix B. It's also available at https://ehamptonny.gov/document center/view/15600/East Hampton Town Airport operational changes, draft DGIS scoping documents to receive public comments thereon and hereby schedule a public hearing to be held on January 17th, 2022 at 11 a.m. or soon thereafter as the matter may be heard. A written public comment period for receipt of public comments, which will extend to 4 p.m. on January 27th, 2022. Public comments may be submitted in writing to the East Hampton Town Clerk, 159 Pantago Road, East Hampton, New York, 11937, or by email to ehairportscope@ehamptonny.gov. Be it further resolved.
Wait, we need to amend the year to 23.
Right.
Correct. Thank you.
Oh,
In
amend.
2 places.
2 places.
Yeah.
So we
January
have a
17th.
second as amended.
Yes, second as amended with the correct year.
People are living in the past.
It's hard to put that number in right now.
Do I have a second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. There's one additional resolution, I believe.
Appoint full-time automotive operator in the Highway Department, Austin Khan. And an hourly rate of $22.61 for $47,027.76 annual for a 40-hour work week.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Are there any other matters to bring before the board?
I do not.
I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Motion to go into exec session. I think it was leases and
Personnel.
and personnel. And I can't
Any
remember.
other matters?
I thought we had an advice of counsel.
And advice of counsel. Say that.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, passed and carried. Shall we go into exec, reconvene in exec at 1:15?
Sure.
Perfect.
I will send a link around. Thank you very much, everyone. Stay
Okay,
safe and be
thank
well.
you.